I think we're live, right? It
Oh,
looks like we're live, yeah. All right, so if you come up on there, Amy, I'll be able to see you real quick. I'm just gonna make sure. Hello, everyone. If you're probably all gonna pile in here, and I'm gonna see if I can get to this and mute there. And yeah, Amy, if you say something over here.
say something.
Yeah, see, I put it up so you can see the chat.
Oh yeah, yeah. It says on YouTube, and then I can just. Can you tell I've never done this before?
No, not at all. No.
View stream on YouTube.
Yeah, well, there should be like you'll go under the actual soul chat, or you come to our channel and then go there, and then it should show up on the side. And then there'll be questions that show up in the live chat box.
Okay, 1 second.
How can you be on Zoom and YouTube at the same time?
Yeah, is it going to be
stream on YouTube?
Oh,
Yeah, well, there should be like under the you'll go under.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. That happened. All right. Well, the cool thing is they're all coming in here. We get to talk. Today we're going to kind of talk about connection reflection. We did Soul Chat 11. You know, we were sitting going, we need to do an 11-11 and really kind of reflect on everything that we've done with the Soul Chats. I guess the best way to explain it. Did you find the chat real quick, Amy, or no?
When it comes up, that's when the double, like you can hear YouTube through Zoom, so it kind of gets.
Oh, okay. Well, I think you can mute that like on your browser.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, if you mute it there, you should be okay. I think
we need to do it.
There we go. Is that?
Yeah. Okay. There.
Yay.
Hi, Grace. How are you? All right. Just making sure that I got all of this now. Okay, you see it?
Yeah. You
can change it to live stream chat, and if you say something there, I can go over to the side and put you in that. Like if you just say hi or something.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. And then that way you can kind of moderate the questions or those kinds of things on there. That'll be awesome.
Yes, can do that.
All right. So now there you are. Gotcha.
Cool.
There we go. Awesome. I'm going to shrink this down because that would mean I have to have my glasses on the whole time. So we were talking, what is a connection reflection, or as most people like to call it, the mirror effect, right? Mm-hmm. Years ago, Sherry and I were talking about it, and we talked about what the actual mirror was. And of course, I think from that point, it kind of went all over the place. The mirror effect has everything to do with your belief systems and this connection. If you've ever believed that you weren't good enough, if you ever believed that how you felt didn't matter, if you ever believed that you weren't important to those you're connected from, meaning mom, dad, your whole family dynamic, those are people you're connected to, by the way. And when this powerful connection shows up, it reflects everything back to you the way you believe it. So you don't see it, but that actually causes the opposite side to show up in that space. So if you believe that how you feel doesn't matter, the majority of the time, the person you're connected to will make it that your feelings don't matter. Does that make sense? Hopefully that's pretty clear, because that's exactly how that comes out. It's somebody asking for one. Yes, we are in. All right. So yeah, we're gonna have more people joining us here. So what happens is you end up having that person show up doing the exact same thing, where what you believed growing up, if they didn't, let's say, for example, your mom or your dad didn't kind of treat you a certain way or didn't pay attention to you a certain way, those things end up getting reflected back to you in this connection in a very duplicated way, but sometimes it feels far worse than it ever felt before. Sometimes what you're going to find is the reason it's going to show up that way far worse is because, looks like we have somebody else. It shows up that way because you found a way to abandon it before. You found a way to reject it before. You found a way to betray it before. You found a way to not pay attention to it the way you did before. Hi, Selma. So what ends up happening is in this connection, they give you that. They give you everything you believe, not because of you. You're going to be triggered on your own. You don't need any help from the outside. So literally everything the way you think it's supposed to play out plays out according to what you're telling yourself.
When does the repeating stop?
I'm sorry?
When does the repeating cycle stop?
When you no longer have to ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a good way to look at it. What you're trying to heal isn't necessarily what you think needs to be healed in a connection to them. It's a connection you have to yourself. The you that abandoned, or the you that told yourself that how you felt didn't matter. This is where you actually either will connect or stay disconnected from that part of yourself to make it make sense. What you're not connecting to in you, don't worry. The person you're connected to ain't going to connect to that either, because you're not going to let them. Matter of fact, the more they want to connect to that part of you, the more you're going to run. And this is where the running and chasing has become completely oblivious to those in this connection. Most of the time, if you're saying they're the runner, guess who's the runner? Because your mind already left the conversation. Your mind already
He's running.
Right. And literally it's the baton exchange in the connection, because you want to tell yourself you're chasing them. But when did you ever learn to chase someone you're connected to? Oh. Yeah, that's how powerful that is.
See, I keep trying to do that, but am I just walking backwards while appearing to go towards them? Am I actually like moonwalking away from them?
That's a good way to put it. Well, I guess the question then becomes, how do you communicate with someone you're connected to let them know you want to meet them in the middle? You want to meet them in a space where you're open. When did you ever said that? When did you ever say that?
I always held expectations, and
did you notice you didn't answer
not
the question?
meet them.
But the question left you, so you already ran from the question. So
I didn't say it. I haven't
right.
said it.
Right. And that's the issue, is your mind isn't going, there's never going to be a thought that's going to connect you to anyone or anything. And you give it so much value, you value that over how you feel. And what you think doesn't value what you feel, because it can't feel nothing. So what's being reflected back to you is exactly that. Ooh. Okay, calm down, Elmo. It's going to be all right. There's a way to heal this. But it's not without really paying attention to what you're doing, to what you feel. Feeling is not thinking. It doesn't matter how, if you've watched our channel, there's a feeling on our channel, not a thought about our channel. If you go to a thought, you're going to find all kinds of different ways to reject what we're putting out there, because that's where you learned how to do that to your own vulnerability, let alone somebody else's. How do you stay connected to your vulnerability and reflect that to the person you're connected to? Ultimately, that is the deeper question. You meet somebody, you feel this instant connection, you feel this powerful connection, and immediately you're already looking for ways out of it, looking for ways to shut it down, looking for ways to reject it. Oh, I felt nothing for them when I first saw them. Well, then all of a sudden a feeling showed up, or the feeling showed up and you really didn't acknowledge it. Or you're so in your head that you sometimes seldom go into your feelings and actually sit in them. How long can you sit in a feeling before the feeling changes? It doesn't take long. That's what's interesting about it. You will aggravate everything you feel from thinking first, and then you'll either surrender to the feeling or continue to suffer in it some more. We get this a lot in a lot of different ways. You reach out to the person you're connected to and they don't answer the phone. Isn't that fun? They don't even call you back. Now, what is your mind doing to you while all that's going on? Isn't that it? That's where you really don't even, it's like you don't even see your own separation. You don't even see your own disconnect from yourself because you think they're doing it to you. But imagine this. Imagine if the dialogue in your head was your greatest disconnect in this connection. I'm trying to get you to imagine, but it's the truth. Name one time, like I said, that your head or your thinking wanted this connection, needed this connection. Now there's a feeling in you that goes without connection. Hell, some of you may be sitting there right now going, how do I connect to how I feel? Do I connect to how I feel? Do I acknowledge my feelings? And when I don't acknowledge my feelings, what am I doing to myself? Why would you ever let somebody acknowledge how you feel when you don't? Why would you ever let somebody do that? You ever been able to do that? Selma, have you ever been able to be around somebody and not acknowledge your feelings and then go, they're not acknowledging my feelings, and you're mad at them for what you're not doing. They're reflecting back to you exactly what you're doing, but you want them to acknowledge that you feel something.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's not possible.
Right. But your mind is going to go, they don't care how I feel. They don't even know that I'm here. Right.
Yeah.
That will be what you're thinking will automatically trigger in you. And you think they triggered you, not your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
the only reason you can be triggered is because you think. If you had no thought pattern, you'd have no trigger.
Hmm.
Is that not a fact?
Fact.
Facts suck. I don't like them, but they're the truth.
But they have to be stated. But so there's this ping pong between happenings and the mind happening, mind happening, and then it spirals off. But do we just come to the body?
You're more than just a body, your energy, your soul, your everything. The mind has narrowed that down into a small, tiny aspect of what you're really here for. And you're telling yourself a story from that. And then you tell yourself you have an identity in it. Imagine this. Imagine a whole group of people who felt a connection to each other, came up with a name. I don't know, let's call it twin flames. And all of a sudden, they put themselves above. Does that even make any sense at all? Instead of, no, you can heal through connection. Everybody should be connected. We're missing it. We're missing this experience. We're missing our ability to connect. We're missing it.
Mm-hmm.
So the twin flame love is like a contraction of the love. It's like a laser when it should be spread out. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It should be an experience, a shared experience, a connected experience. Not
And
a
connect one, connect all. Isn't that it?
That's the best way to put it. Thing is energy doesn't know that we're disconnected. The energy is going to remain whether we're here for it or not. The intensity of which it's felt is the varying degree of what you experience in a twin flame experience. It's not a relationship. It's a connection. The moment you try to force a connection into a relationship, you have rules, you have an identity to play, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. There is no connection in relationship. It's familiar, but it's never going to be a connection. Connection doesn't have rules. As you can see with this connection, when has it ever had rules that you could play by? And the only real rule in this connection is your vulnerability. Either you're connected to you inside of your vulnerability or you're not.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I feel like the most profound thing that this has shown me is my connection to all. Like, yeah, for example, like Elmo is a perfect example of this. How it just like how I connected to him through like seeing you on this like soul chat, and then I was like, oh, soul fan, because I could feel myself, and I could I didn't abandon that connection within myself, so I could see that in him, and now I can see it everywhere and all the time.
And
The
how
way she came toward me without any fear, just pure feeling. I could just accept it fully and like, yes, come here. So it was beautiful. And it
it's
is beautiful.
one of the beautiful thing this twin flame experience is going to give you is the open door to receive love.
Mm.
Where in this world, even in this timeline or many others, have we taught each other to receive love rather than give it? We don't even know where the receiver lost in connection, but it's there. In this connection, your biggest struggle and the hardest thing for you to do is receive love. Because up until this point, love has been a mind identified state, not a feeling one. And as long as there's absence, there will be abandonment, rejection, betrayal, safe, protection, the whole list of things that disconnect us from one another and every living thing. We're more than that. We've always been more than that.
Mm.
But because we've all taught each other to think, or teaching to keep somebody in their head has never really freed them of anything. Nothing more, put them in a matrix that they'll never escape. This connection wants to break that. It needs to break that. For connection's going to happen whether we want it to or not. It is the next evolution, if not already in that evolution now. Connection is growing. And it's not to be hidden, and it's not to be for selective. It's supposed to be for connection. There's nothing selective about connection, just like the light of the sun, right? It doesn't say, oh, this person's more special than this person, or this person's more aware than this person. It doesn't choose that. It doesn't even look at it that way. You could be dead asleep and this connection finds you. Hell, I'm proof. I was completely asleep. And the worst way. So a lot of what this connection is here to bring you is that aliveness, that awareness, that alertness. And that's what happens to us when we find the awakening, is we lose our alertness, our ability to realize we're not what we think. We know the connection's there. We know that we're feeling something in the connection. It's when we get into that mind dialogue and then tell us that telepathy is a real thing, when that has nothing to do with telepathy at all. You're not a set of instructions. You're not a process. You're an energy. And that energy matches another energy by vibration and frequency. Nothing more.
Yeah.
We want to be more. We want, in a mind identified state, we want to be more. And we don't want to be less than. But the truth is, we're all on a level playing field in connection. It's your thoughts about it that tell you you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's crazy to think about, like, when the activation happened, and then it kind of like became this like marathon in my head about, okay, now we're here, and then at the end of this marathon, it's me and him, and it was only here. It was only here, and it was just like forever, just going and going and going, and then like it's like that marathon is never gonna stop if we don't just like stop it, or just like
Realize there is no race.
exactly, and there is no marathon. Marathon is an illusion.
Mhm. And then we, of course, I think when you really look at it, all of these little checklists out there that tell you that this person is that person, stop looking outside for something that's inside.
Yeah.
You are the checklist, not what you read, not what other people are doing, not what Sherry and Lee experienced. Has nothing to do with your connection.
Mm-hmm.
Has everything to do with your connection to yourself. If you have to go and search out somebody to seek or get validated that you have a connection or that somebody is, where's your belief in you and what you feel? That's a wound. That wound will make you seek out somebody to validate your wound. That wound doesn't seek out to validate the connection.
And you will always find the information that matches your wound, that validates how you feel, or what you think, rather.
True. But we've seen that wound work in some very infected ways. And like in the connection reflection aspect, somebody who was born into this world and lost connection to a parent, or they were utilized or wounded by a parent in need of using that child as a weapon against the other parent. Seen that in this connection more times than I haven't. Because it's not a two-sided thing. It doesn't mean that you have a mother who says, you know, your father left you to your face. They tell you this. And now for the rest of the life, your story is going to be that a man I'm connected to will never show up for me because that man left me. So you've equated your worth based on an event that happened in time that really wasn't the truth. But the story you have to play out for the rest of your life is that story. You are not a story. You never will be. But
Leah.
the mind won't let you see that. Yes.
I was just going to say, I think receiving is so vulnerable because it makes you feel like a baby again. And just like there's this helpless feeling of I'm just surrendering my needs to other people. And it can feel dangerous if you're really out of the habit of receiving.
Very much so.
And we're taught to like grow up from being a baby, right? Like we're taught to, okay, you're big now, you know. What
Your
do
independence,
do?
your independence, the development of your emotions, which aren't your feelings, all get pretty much dissected. And then you're kind of put into that training of these are the things that are important and these are the things that are not, right? How you feel actually kind of almost gets twisted at a very young age and you don't even realize that yet. The connection comes along and shows you that you learned certain things a certain way and those things impacted your ability to stay connected to yourself. Simple way to look at it. You learn to ride a bike, you fall off the bike, you get hurt, the parent is there, they pick you up and put you back on. Now you know that you can keep moving when you're hurt. Can't take that away from you now. And especially if they tell you you're okay. Your leg is bleeding half to death, right?
You're like, I'm hurt. And they say, no, you're not. You're fine. You're fine.
Right. But something does end up happening to you at a deeper level that takes away your ability to know when you can move on. But see, most people live their whole life that way. They stay hurt and make their choices from their hurt. They don't make their choices from their healing. They don't make choices from their love. But once you actually are hurt, and this is what people call toxic, but I don't call toxic. I end up calling it hurt. You don't make choices based on good thoughts. You don't make choices on a good life. You make choices on your hurt and what that hurt did or defined in you. Not your fault. None of that is your fault. Your hurt matters. A connection to you when you're hurt really matters. But how do you let that happen? How do you allow that? How do you allow somebody to connect to you when you're hurt? How do you even answer that question?
You got to take a chance.
A chance would mean you see choice. Your hurt doesn't give you choice. It gives you hurt. All your choices you make will come from that hurt. If you're hurting, you ever done that where you hurt and you hide it from everybody you love?
Yes.
Yes.
When that happened, would you consider that you abandoning yourself, or they were abandoning you because they could probably feel you were hurt and didn't say nothing? See, we learn how to ignore each other's hurt. Even in society, you do that. But then here comes this beautiful connection and you're really hurt. Oh, and they're the first one to show up. No. They don't want nothing to do with you when you're hurt. When you're hurt and you're trying to reach out to them, they won't show up at all, will they? No, they're not picking up the phone to call you. They're not showing up at your house. The last thing, but at one point, when you were open and you allowed them connect to you when you're hurt, it's really interesting because like when you get hurt from like a parent, right? And that hurt sits in you and you never go back and resolve that hurt. And there's a you on the inside of that hurt that says never again. The never again is the issue. The never again creates this big ring around you that says, don't come near me when I'm hurt.
Which is all the time.
Which is all the time. But there's a you on the inside of the hurt that you, in your mind, have disconnected from because you stay in your mind. You're not accessing the hurt. You're not sitting in the hurt. You're not accepting the hurt. So what happens is in this connection, that feeling comes along and you're like, oh, this feeling is because of them. And it'll go into a long ass story about what they did. Meanwhile, you're sitting in that, and you're paying attention to the feeling, but you're not sitting in the feeling. Huge difference. Because if you sat in the feeling, what would happen to it?
Go away.
Wow. Not transmute, not change, go away. It would transmute if you sat in the feeling without a story. Going away is something the mind has told you is possible to leave. You cannot leave your hurt. You cannot leave your feelings. That's why when I said, well, whoever told somebody to let go of something is also validating your ability to abandon yourself. I'm not going to ask you to leave a feeling. I'm going to ask you to sit in it, and I'm going to ask you to share it. That's connection. Don't get it wrong. How could that not be connection? I want to know what you're feeling, how you're feeling it, where you feel it at. And I'm going to sit in there and ask you to tell me a little bit more about it. And you're going to go into a story, but I'm going to be sitting in that feeling with you. And what happens to the feeling when you're done telling the story? Because I'm going to ask you to sit and ask you where that feeling is now. That's connection. When Sherry did that to me, guys, I didn't know what the hell happened to me. But isn't that this connection? But you're not asking for what you need. You're telling them what you want, or you're not telling them anything at all. When have you ever been open in connection? Completely open? Where did you learn to do that? Okay, y'all know. Breathe a little better. That was a good breath, but we could feel the hurt coming from it. That's that feeling. That feeling wants connection. Your
When I
thoughts?
sit in it, it's sinking,
Mm,
and it keeps sinking,
mm,
and it keeps
mhm.
sinking.
Here's a good way to look at it. Would you ever let somebody love you without your depth?
Wouldn't be nothing to love.
Then the sinking is nothing more than your depth calling to you. You won't choose your depth. Why would you let somebody choose you? We're all deep. We're all walking around in this vastness, but we're all going with this surface level expectation that that's what's expected. But everything you really feel goes unconnected to, not because of them, but because of you and your story. And whatever you're telling yourself is the reason you can't share your depth. What's beautiful is if you watch children between less than the age of 5, they share whatever they're learning. No, we don't hold back when we're that age. And if we learn something real deep, we'll share that too. And it blows an adult's mind, doesn't it? Wow, look at that. The child can explain. And we teach them out of that explanation. We do. I don't want you to talk about that. No.
And not
Or,
so much. Not so much. Like,
right.
make
Or
it concise and clear.
I get people who go, you're in your head a lot. Me? Am I?
What?
Well, it's different. When you sit in feeling, you can access what you think. You don't have to dwell in there. You don't have to have an identity from it. In this connection, when I had to remove a lot of the old identities, a lot of the old egos, a lot of the old ways of being, I realized it was a lot easier just to sit in a feeling, and then I really couldn't understand why I was thinking that way. Yeah, there's a moment of silence for that one, because I know that one was deep. But
you feel the feelings that you're so scared of, and you feel them and embrace them, and they run through you, those roots that the thoughts had don't exist anymore. It's like, oh, like it's me. And it's
yeah.
Because you're connected to them. They are you now.
But if you really listen to what Amy said there, there's a very valuable piece there that's very, very important and very, very eye-opening. When you feel the feelings and you're scared of them, wait a minute, is scared a feeling or a thought? In that realm, it's a thought. A feeling of being scared isn't a thought. Sitting with your feelings, accepting your feelings, is uncomfortable. It only becomes more comfortable when you tell yourself a story about it over and over and over again. Why the feeling's there, what the feeling represents, what the feeling means is not present. And it's not connection. Can you connect to how you feel and then your twin flame walk and get close to you? How long do you stay connected to how you feel? Is it comfortable or is it an uncomfortable experience? It's uncomfortable, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody really like it? Grace? You like that? You like, oh, let me just be comfortable feeling everything I'm feeling for the person I'm connected. And you don't want them to know. You want to put on, oh, you won't like me if I'm feeling. Isn't
I don't.
isn't them not liking you? It's you not liking yourself.
Right.
So you get mad at them for running away from you because they can feel you not liking yourself.
And you blame
And
it.
how about I don't accept me being connected. I don't accept the feeling of being connected to this person. Is your fight in this connection. But the key part is you're not accepting what you feel. Do you accept what you feel for the person you're connected to? Truthfully. And how long can you sit in that feeling before you've accepted it? And what happens if you sit in it and then you go to your head real fast? Is that accepting it? Is that accepting the feeling? Is that accepting how you feel? Is it accepting the experience you're in? Are you accepting the present moment when you feel that? As if you can feel that, do you find yourself at odds or find yourself in resistance of the feeling? Your inner space needs openness. The universe is a big place, but you have a universe inside of you too. Are you exploring it? Or are you staying in your head in the tiny little star and out in the middle of nowhere next to Pluto, not even paying attention to everything else that's going on in the rest of that space? You're from Earth. I get it. Can't be out there and be here because everybody here is out there. Makes no sense. But that's what's happening. Right? How hard is it for us as a species to learn to speak connection?
So hard because it's so easy.
You know what's so hard about it? This isn't connected to anything or anyone. We can take information and put it in here, and that's the only information we will allow in there after we've learned something. This is the pothole of life. We go through and we'll pave the same road with the same potholes, and we keep making the same pothole year after year. You ever been on a road like that where they never really fill that hole? They just keep paving over it. But a year later or months later, because of the traffic on that road, you still got the same hole. That's exactly what this does. And this connection comes along, and it won't let you fill that hole. It won't let you do anything to that hole. It's letting you know that there's a hole there. That's it. But hey, what's in that hole? I don't know. If you come
around it.
Well, no, the best thing is what we're trying to do is if you come with me, I'll investigate it. And they're like, you've had that hole before me. I'm not going in there. That's the experience. Is that not true?
They might give you a flashlight though.
Well, I don't think they're going to give you any light.
But do you have to jump into the hole then?
You consume enough feeling, you become the light.
I have a question. It says, how do I listen to my feelings?
By realizing hearing never worked with feeling. Your senses, see, hear, smell, touch, taste. When did you develop touch?
First.
When did you develop listening? Somewhere down the totem pole somewhere, right? Because first words we probably heard a lot was no. Right? So we heard no more than we wanted to. After a while, we thought our names were no as children. Am I wrong? That was the universe. I watched a kid just the other day in Walmart look directly at his mom, and she was talking, and he said no. And I was like, gee, wonder where he would have learned that from, right? It's like we repeat everything. We do the repeating aspect of it first. And of course, the touch is everything. So you want to listen to your feelings. Well, until you actually sit in your feelings, will you be able to accept them? Notice I didn't say understand. Understand is a thought pattern. Accept is a feeling. You can accept your feelings. You can even accept your non-acceptance of feelings. But you can't change your feelings. Your feelings as they are. The mind will create a construct and a way of looking at your feelings and come up with some kind of way to make it make sense. And it never makes sense. Not even a little. And this is reflected back to you in this connection. How you treat your feelings. This is the worst part. How you treat, how you feel is exactly how they're going to expect you to treat how you feel. And now they're going to join you in that, and you're mad at them for joining on something you taught.
And it goes both ways, right? I treat them how they expect to be treated.
You will treat you the same, so you won't know how they actually treat you. You won't let them treat you any different than you're treating yourself in connection. You already learned that once.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't unlearn it. Make
Mm-hmm.
sense? You didn't unlearn it. The way that you were, let's say, for example, your mom, if she was open-hearted and always wanted to come and check and see how you're feeling, see how your day was, paid very close attention to you, or you had a mom who didn't. In this connection, they try to find that out in the very beginning, and you might be open, but then after a while, they start asking you, you slide into the way you used to respond or didn't respond. It gets activated.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, you're back in that role. You're back in that evil relationship or the profound relationship or the relationship you have to yourself.
Mm.
This connection comes along and reflects that back to you in various ways. And you start to really realize, do you even like yourself all that much? According to your thinking. The way you think about yourself, do you like yourself? That's a, let me say it again. The way that you think about yourself, do you like yourself?
Well, my thinking doesn't even let me breathe, so
Give me this pillow. It's like, you're thinking. I don't ever remember going to school or coming into a class where they were like, today you're going to understand why you will think about yourself the way you do. Right? I don't ever remember that.
Nope.
Nobody happened.
And especially when like they were passing out papers that you did and you knew you weren't really there for and you failed that shit. And as soon as you saw that grade, you were like, you kind of slid it over or you threw it in the trash before you even walked out, right? You did that. And that stuck with you. Being able to throw away something that you didn't do well in. What do you think you're doing in this connection? Sorry, but sometimes the way that it comes all the way around goes around. This isn't a checklist.
Yeah.
So sorry, Elmo.
Yeah.
Put some salt on it. Put some salt. Put something on it. All right, but sometimes that's what happens. It's a thought, not an experience. Your expectations of what you want somebody to meet, how are you meeting your expectations in yourself? What are you waiting for? Who are you waiting for?
Nobody.
You're waiting for you to walk through a door that says, I'm here now, I can be connected to. How are you connected to you now?
Here I am.
It's a challenge. I get it. I get how it's a challenge. Your connection is always going to be reflected back to you in people who love you and people who don't. The ones that are important to you, how have you made you important to you? because they're not going to give you back something you're not giving yourself.
Hmm.
Any questions out there, Amy?
Yeah, there's another one. How do we make choices from the heart?
Mm.
It doesn't choose. Doesn't choose. No choice.
Well, let's go over the heart, the power of the heart. If you have never seen that movie, I'm recommending it. It is amazing. It has a lot of the spiritual teachers in it, but it really speaks to that the human heart was the first actual connection you actually had. When you came in, when you were being birthed, when you were being created, the first thing that happened was your heartbeat. And even now, when women go and they're checking their pregnancy or they're determining if the baby's okay, they check the heart. They're not listening for thought. So
That'll be the day when we figure out a machine to listen.
So even the day you were born, you were hooked up to a heart monitor. And everybody in the room, when they walked into the room, was listening to you. If you notice, there were no needs or wants being met other than that space in between hearing that heartbeat and feeling it in yourself. So to listen or to come from your heart would mean that you recognize a heart in another. Your own heart in another. Wouldn't it? You won't let somebody connect to your heart if you're not connected to it. So listening to your own heartbeat, I actually make it a practice. Like right now, I'm listening to it and it is beating so peacefully. It's not beating, it's not racing. It took me a while to figure out that when I speak, that if I'm speaking from connection, I'm not nervous because I know that I have to be completely vulnerable and let my vulnerability in connection answer connection, not answer anybody else. I'm not doing any of that to reach out. I'm doing all of that to reach in, to reach out. Huge difference. So if you're listening to your heart, everybody who's here right now, you can connect. Literally, if we sat here for 30 seconds or so and just focused on our heartbeats, there'd be an illuminating experience where the vibration and the frequency would match. And there's a vulnerability to it, a softness to it, a kindness to it. It doesn't seek to hurt another. It's an openness. So I guess the question is, if you're coming from your heart, are you open? And if you could feel something on the inside that wants to resist open, you're not open.
A lot of times it's trust, I find, like not being able to trust that is it. Sometimes my head will say, oh, but you're just making that up. That's not real. Like, why would that be like that? Like, and it's like noise again.
Noise. The mind and its interpretation of the heart is a really interesting thing because the heart created the mind, not the other way around. The heart came first, the mind came second. And then the mind was developed away from the heart. You could see that in the way that we treat all living things on the planet. It's destructive in path, but literally the heart doesn't have an end point because it itself is the energy of the vibration and the frequency of where we really are still connected to. We're here for this experience, but we're still connected, and that's that experience, and we can speak from that experience. Nothing ever dies. The vibration and frequency is always here. It's our thoughts about it that make it seem like it's an end game or an end point. There's no truth to that. I want you all to have connection. Sherry and I have found a vastness in it, an experience in it. We have experienced everything our thinking did. And we have been experiencing for the last few years everything feeling does. Everybody should have feeling in connection. How you're treating that feeling inside yourself. That's what can change. This connection doesn't need a checklist of who they meet or what they are supposed to be to you. That creates a set of expectations in you that sets you up for failure in connection. You're more than that. You can be connected to without what everybody else says it is. Be connected to what you can feel it is. But not without being connected to yourself first to prove to yourself you deserve connection like this. The other person isn't going to give you that. And even they're going to give you the exact thing you've been giving yourself. Because then you can see it outside of you, what you're doing inside of you. It's not easy. But nothing worthwhile ever is. Amy, anything else? Did this help you, Grace? Selma?
Yeah.
Elmo? Felt a lot from this?
Yes.
Are there any things that you're running into that you really can't connect to?
One in me who wishes to fill out that depth with consumption. How do I connect to that?
In your journey to find your depth, are you searching for emptiness?
Yes.
Then once you find it, no, you can fill it with all kinds of things, not just one thing, not just one person, one place, one anything. Know that you can pour out and repeat. The more you fill things and the more you empty them, the greater your depth. It's like a hole, right? You're digging a hole and you check to see if the water, how much water can I put in there? I want to go deeper. You'll take out the water and you can go deeper. You see, it's the same thing.
And it keeps filling from the earth.
And from within, your earth,
Uh,
your core.
mhm.
Absolutely.
There's feeling lost, both of them in connection, not being able to trust and feeling lost.
The interesting thing about connection to loss, the feeling is not being connected to, not connected to from somebody outside of them, but something inside of you. I was connected to loss. I knew for sure that if Sherry and I were connected, I was going to lose her. I knew for sure that if I was connected to anyone, I would lose them. So the connection to loss was not so much, it was the feeling was there. The mind took it and made it about loss, but didn't make it about the feeling. You don't lose a feeling. You connect to it or you don't. In that space, you're not connecting to what you feel and fully embracing it. Even if it's hurt, are you embracing the you inside of that hurt? What you're waiting for is somebody outside of you to come and stand next to you. What happens to that part of you? If you're not going to connect to that part of you, you're going to experience loss again and again and again and again. We did that. Sherry and I did that. If you watch our journey, we kept doing that. We knew how to lose each other. We didn't know how to be with each other. And we practiced it quite a bit in destructive ways, destructive patterns, all relative to thought. You're looking for an identity. You're not looking for connection. Lose your identity. You won't be subject to loss anymore when you do. You're not what you think. You're everything you feel. That's more important. That's connection. And that can be reflected back to you in a beautiful way or a painful way. Either way, you're connected to. Trust your pain. It doesn't lie. Does it, Amy?
It doesn't.
At all. Anything else? Did this helpful? Was this cool?
Yeah, awesome.
So happy you guys came. Update on Sherry. She is going through week 2 of a new pill regimen that they made her increase, which is it's the last resort kind of pill thing that she has to do. She's pushing through. She's more tired than not these days, but she's really pushing herself because she said, I'm not going to lay in a bed and go. That's not who she is, if that's going to happen. So she's out at a band camp. Don't even start with the jokes. She is at a band camp with her former cousin and with a bunch of ladies, and she's not too far from here, and they're going to spend the weekend together. And I believe that's exactly what she needs.
That's great.
Still nothing. I know that there are several people, and those of you who will continue to keep sharing the living donor. We're looking for a living donor. Thing about the liver is its size and shape. And it varies per person. Nobody has the same size liver or shape. So far, most of the livers that I think have gone through, not enough of the livers available. I think we got about 4 weeks left on the living donor list. And then after that, it goes to deceased donor. Either way, it's a needle in the haystack. I mean, of course, with a deceased donor, you go into every other risk, which her body doesn't accept it. It rejects it, kind of thing. So
what does connection tell you about the situation? How you're gonna make it?
as long as I'm breathing, I'll always be in connection to her in the deepest level. What that means for what we've been able to do, I've said to her, we came here to do what we're supposed to do. Can we do more? Of course we can do more. If that's not the case, then this is where it is. But know that we've put a place here where people can come and they can find the truth in their connection. They can find the vulnerability in their connection. And she was really, she was adamant that I continue. I told her I couldn't. I couldn't do this without her in a connection to her. And I said, there will be one that will come along and pick up where we left. So it does have its deepness to it. It does have its depth. And that one soul that may be split into several of you will do that. Everything has its purpose, even this. And, I think when you get into the level of accepting, we both accept the space. We both accept connection. We both believe in the connection. We both believe how strong it has been, and continues to be. I realize that I don't really get along well with hope, because it's a mind construct that really does too many things that put things out of reach. So I try not to do that. We want to continue to do the root camps and training. So if you're interested in that, we definitely are waiting for you. Please step up. We need you. The more we can connect, it does open up a greater door for healing and connection. Your connection to you and healing does something to the planet, does something to you, does something to your lineage, does something to your reincarnated aspect of your DNA. It's important. If this connection found you, connection wants you. But you're going to have to ask yourself, do you want connection? And I get it. We don't fit in on the planet. A lot of us, we all struggle to talk to people who we've surrounded ourselves with, are afraid to talk about connection because they've always seen us disconnected. That's got to change.
It's an extended hand. You just take it.
Yes, it is. So yeah, we're I'm she's been popping in a little bit more than normal on some of these, so that's been great. The more she moves around, the better. She is, I think she's lost about 90 pounds.
It's amazing.
But she can't eat. That's not the way she wanted to lose 90 pounds. So, in a lot of ways, she makes it so much fun. I mean, she said, you do realize you're the only twin flame who can say his feminine can pee standing up. And I'm looking at her going, see, that's just not funny. That's just, I'm sorry. I just don't see the humor. But that's who she is. I have the funniest, craziest twin on the planet. Right? Who will, I mean, she wears a shirt that says, okay, if I'm on life support and I stop, just unplug and plug me back in and see if that works. I mean, she's like that, right? She's something else. I mean, I have to really admit, I mean, you guys get a small aspect of me and her, but I'm telling you, she's the full ride. It's not like, after you get off, it's like the roller coaster goes on. It's a long roller coaster too, but it's fun. It's fun. It's exciting. It's she's connected to me, and she really did make sure she reflected me back to me that if I wasn't connected to me, it wasn't going to work. That's the key. Nobody can give you that key, just you. Don't seek a connection if you're not connected to yourself. It doesn't work like that. Your heartbeat is still in your chest. Are you paying attention to it? We love you guys.
Love you
so much. Thank you for those who have donated. You're saving our butts. Those of you that doing the 30 minutes, keep coming. It's great. There's a lot in connection that we still want to do, and even each of those 30 minutes, or even the root camps or the things we're doing,
we
still
still have one more together.
Yeah, but it still spreads connection. Understand our mission was to get people connected to themselves, to have connection. That's a big one because we look at what we needed to reach, and then we keep trying to figure out what that number is. I don't know if that number, what it really resonates with. At this point, there's so many orbs yet still to be born. We want them to come into connection, not leave it. Because we leave connection, come here, have this experience, then go back to connection. But shouldn't you have connection here too,
Yeah.
in this experience?
Yes.
It just makes more sense.
Why not?
Yeah. And the things that get in the way are things that really don't matter. Not money, not the things you have, not the clothes you wear, none of that is connection. None of it. You are worth being connected to. If you've never heard it, now you have. And I mean that from the depths.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. And those of you on YouTube watching, Amy, if you could let them know, we love you guys. If they need our information, of course, it should be in the description down below. If you need to set up a 30-minute, if you want to do boot camp, find us. We're right here. It's not like anything out there. We don't want to give you anything false. We want to give you your truth so you can connect to you. You won't let yourself connect to you without the truth. See you guys soon.